What's up, everyone? What's up, X Factor? We are back with another NFL style video. We have week 2 behind us, on to week 3. We've had some ugly games. We've had some great football. In my opinion, we've had some weird football happen these first 2 weeks, but we're here to break it all down. As always, I'm Fred. I'm joined by my 2 beautiful co-hosts, Troy and Caleb. Boys, how we doing today?
Amazing. Troy's feeling dangerous. He's got the guns out. He's ready to go.
Hey, I didn't get the memo.
I know, right?
You got the cutoff, a little Carmelo Anthony cutoff. Can't beat LA.
Feeling dangerous.
Crazy week 2 in the NFL. Absolutely insane.
I hate it.
I mean, the Dolphins came back from down 21. The Jets stormed back late, recovered an onside kick, beat the Brownies. I mean, the Bengals lost again, but let's I guess
Cooper Rush is the GOAT, apparently.
Oh, we'll get to the Bengals.
Andy Dalton-esque.
Yeah. But yeah, let's go ahead and hop forward to week 3 here. But before we do that, let's look at our records. After week 1, Troy's record was 9-6-1. Fred was 7-8-1. I was 6-9-1. Last week, Troy went 8-8. Fred went 5-11, and I went 9-7. Fred, how do you feel after a down week like that?
Back to back, Caleb. Hey, don't let him off the leash. Back to back.
Hey, I perform best back against the wall. You feel
I
me?
like that.
I got that dog inside of me.
Yeah.
I like being down and out.
Yeah. So our records now after the first 2 weeks are Troy 17-14-1, Fred is 12-19-1, and I'm 15-16-1. So we'll go ahead and look forward to week 3. Starting off, our Thursday night game is the Browns versus Steelers. Not a very exciting Thursday night matchup, if you ask me. But Fred, I'll pass this one to you.
Yeah, Steelers offense right now is really bad, man. I'm on the fire Matt Canada train. I don't think it's Trubisky. I do think it's a Matt Canada thing. For those who don't know, that is the OC for Pittsburgh. I can't be a homer on this, man. I'm going to take the Browns at home. I think they're projecting a little rain, so I think that favors, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt more than Najee right now, because Najee's still battling, I think, a lingering injury, not looking the best. I saw a couple of videos on Twitter of him just missing just holes and our offensive line's played great. I mean, James Daniels has been one of the best guards right out the gate. So I'm looking forward to seeing the playbook open up, as a fan, but I just don't think that's what Matt Canada is going to do. So, and people are calling for Kenny Pickett. Let's not do it just yet. So I'm going to go Browns here.
Troy?
I'm a little surprised you're going with the Browns because I actually think that this is going to be a really, really tight game. I just think that the thing that I'm also going the Browns. I just think the thing that takes the Browns over the top is obviously their running game. We've seen the Steelers struggle to stop the run this year so far. And again, I alluded to it last week. The defense without TJ Watt is not the Steeler defense that you know and that you love. Yes, they held the Patriots to 17 points, but let's put let's call them the brakes on that defensive performance. Mac Jones is not very, very special, if you will. He's a good quarterback, but Damian Harris was able to pick apart in spots that defense. I just think that the Browns, man, with Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, Jacoby Brissett's doing good enough. It seems like he remembers that they have Amari Cooper on their field too. He really got him involved in week 2. I expect the Browns to win, but I do expect it to be like 24-21, a really solid, entertaining, back and forth, okay game. I think it's going to be close, but I think the Browns do end up winning.
Yeah, I look for Jacoby to get the tight ends involved. I mean, they have great tight end duo with Njoku and Harrison Bryant out there. So
yeah. And a two tight end package, little play action. You'd think you'd be able to get that younger Steeler defense moving a little bit, and then be able to hit your tight end Harrison Bryant or David Njoku.
I mean, we were last in the run defense last year, and we went out and got Miles Jack, and didn't really do much to the defensive line, but the defensive line's great. We just got to get through these injuries, and then I think we'll be fine.
Miles Jack's done pretty good too, hasn't he?
Honestly, Spillane's kind of been playing more than him, weird enough.
Gotcha. But
he'll get it. He'll get in there. I love Miles Jack. I think him and hopefully Devin Bush figures out how to play football again. Then that'll be a quick linebacking core. Minka's doing his thing, so we'll be fine. But I'm going to go Cleveland here, especially if they're playing the dog pound.
Yeah, I also went Cleveland, so all 3 of us going Cleveland there. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are we for this Thursday night matchup?
As a Steelers fan, 10, but as a football fan, about 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a football, I think it is going to be a little bit more entertaining than we think, just because really good running back play. But in terms of like, how excited am I to sit down and watch this game for 2.5 hours?
This might be a turn on the laptop while I'm playing a video game and just kind of glance over occasionally. But,
Well, I mean, it is a division rival, so those are always
Yeah.
fun. Like Myles Garrett, we have some pass with him, so I'm sure it's going to be a
Thursday night broadcast.
hostile.
Hey, Thursday night football broadcast with Prime Video. I mean,
It'll play.
It's been a good broadcast.
But yeah, there's our Thursday night matchup. We'll slide over now to the Sunday 1:00 games. We'll start off with the Bills versus the Dolphins. This is my game of the week. I'm real excited for this matchup. Fred, I know we were talking off camera. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, this is also my game of the week, man. I think Miami's came out of the gates just firing. Tua looks good. I don't know. I mean, they're, kind of Madden GM thinking of, let's just go get the 2 fastest receivers,
Right.
put them at the X and just let them go, just run 4 verts, and it works. And I'd like to see them develop a run game, but maybe they don't have to. But I am going to go Buffalo here because Buffalo is the best team in the NFL. And honestly, it might be hot. I don't think it's close. I think they're the heavy Super Bowl favorites. Josh Allen looks like an MVP. Stephon Diggs looks like an MVP. I mean, what else can you say about the Bills? And their defense is just all over the place. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer. I mean, just awesome linebacking core. Ed Oliver looks great early. I mean, it's Buffalo Nation here.
Troy, before you answer, I know you were kind of skeptical of Tyreek Hill joining Miami, right?
I was.
So what have you seen these first 2 weeks? And then you can lead us into your answer.
Okay, so obviously the fourth quarter is beautiful that we got to see. First 3 quarters, the Dolphins look bad. Like everybody seems to forget. Yeah, now granted, they had that fourth quarter run. It looks great. Everybody's freaking out about Tua going ballistic, as they should. He played really, really good down the stretch. But I would pump the brakes on the Dolphins just a tad. But Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are extremely fun to watch. And I think I said this last week too. Tyreek Hill has a different level that I didn't really see in Kansas City in terms of a possession receiver. Like we got to see him go over the top and be a streaker. Patrick Mahomes' beautiful arm, being able to make plays for him and his quickness. But like with Tua, he's had to improvise a little bit because obviously Tua doesn't have the arm that Patty has,
right?
But we've seen a different level to Tyreek in terms of being a possession receiver, going up and competing one-on-one with corners for like jump balls. And I'm really impressed with Tyreek in that sense. But I too am going with the Buffalo Bills. I just think they're too much. They're so good. They don't even have Tre'Davious White in their secondary yet. I'm pretty sure he's like one of their CB1. And so it's just, that team is just going to get better and better and better. Obviously, they are suffering the injury that we saw on Monday Night Football, but I think more so the story from that game is how bad the Titans are. But the Buffalo Bills absolutely demolished back-to-back opponents. I mean, it's a beautiful thing out in Buffalo right now.
Yeah, it's looking like Tre'Davious White, who was a CB1. He's going to be back week 5 coming off an ACL tear.
There we go.
They are a little beat up, too. Ed Oliver's kind of dealing with a little bit, and Jordan Poyer as well. But like I said, their offense.
You just blink and they're in the red zone.
Yeah, they're Josh Allen's.
I think it's going to be an exciting game because you've got the 2 dynamic wide receivers for the Dolphins, and then you've got the Bills who are just very, very good. It's funny because it's like you've got Josh Allen trying to prove he's like the best quarterback in football, in my opinion, at least. Like he wants to prove that. And you've got Tua. I feel like he just wants to prove everybody wrong because everybody was so negative on him this whole offseason and everything. And I feel like he's just one of like, no, I belong in this league. And so it's a cool dynamic for those 2 going up against each other there. But
what's
I also
best for
him,
Bills. Like Tua, he doesn't like even like on the bombs Waddle and Tyreek caught last week. I mean, there was no corner even near him.
Yeah. And
it kind of looks like what it does in Alabama. Because I mean, Alabama, nobody usually can guard any of their receivers.
Baltimore's secondary is overhyped too.
Yeah. Like, but the one thing with Tua, man, he can throw darts. I mean,
100%.
His accuracy is one of the best. He can put it anywhere, and I think that's what they're trying to build around. I'm like, why not do that?
All 3 of us with a unanimous Bills right there as well.
Unanimous. And back-to-back weeks for Fred, game of the week being included with the Dolphins. So a lot of love in Miami from Fred this time around.
I love it. We'll slide over now. the struggling Cincinnati Bengals going up against the New York Jets. Troy, why don't you get us started here?
Yeah. So the Bengals are struggling, as you said. I mean, there's not too much I can say in terms of what the causes are. I think that people need to pump the brakes on the O-line. Our tackles have done a terrible job, Jonah Williams and Leo Collins, but we've gone against TJ Watt and Micah Parsons. So those are two elite level edge rushers. But those two do need to figure it out. Like they need to figure it out. And so does Joe. Joe needs to get a little bit more comfortable in the pocket. He's been really skittish, but I saw a photo showing his week 1 and 2 last year compared to his week 1 and 2 this year. And I'm going to try to pull it up real quick, but I mean, he's really done almost identical. So last year he was 39 of 57, 468 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks, with a 94.8 QBR rating and 3 turnover-worthy plays, 1 big-time throw. Okay. This year he has 0 big-time throws, 5 turnover-worthy plays, 537 yards on 64% completions, and 3 touchdowns, 4 picks, 73.1 QBR. So he's done worse than him coming off an ACL tear. So that is a little bit of a concern, but Joe has always started slow for the Bengals. Let's just put it like that. The Bengals, even last year, their best games were us coming back from 2-score down, 2 scores down in the game, like against the Jags on Thursday Night Football, against the Chiefs to clinch the AFC North. Like we have in the AFC Championship game, we were down big going into the half. Like this has always just been kind of what the Cincinnati Bengals are, and it's a recipe for disaster, which is what we are seeing now. So getting out to a quick start's huge. I've watched a ton of Joe interviews. He's on Colin Cowherd's podcast every Tuesday. So I've been getting a whole lot of that in my system. And, Joe's just telling everybody to take a deep breath, which is what I tell everybody. I have the Bengals winning. I do think it's close. I know people don't want to hear that, but I think it's another close game. I think the Jets have a ton of energy right now. New York will be popping off of that comeback win. So I think it's a close one, but I do think the Bengals edge them out 24-20. So I'm going with the Bengals.
Fred?
Yeah, I got to see more of Joe Mixon, but I think it starts at O-line. I mean, Joe Mixon's averaging just above 3 yards a carry.
Make a man miss one time. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, Burrow's gotten sacked, I think, 13 times in 2 weeks. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, if we're talking about the Jets, man, I love Garrett Wilson. I've loved what he's done. And Joe Flacco, man, 6'16", 5 Tutas, and 1 oopsie daisy. You kidding me? Joe Flacco's back in Baltimore, baby. But yeah, I got to see better play out of that offensive line, and I think that it gets cleaned up this week, and I think the Bengals win this one.
I will say, Carl Lawson off the edge this week is going to be really interesting. This is a big spot for him. Coming back to the team that didn't want to pay him, said he wasn't worth what he got. So this is a big game for a really solid pass rush in New York. It's going to be interesting. That's why I keep saying it's going to be another tight one. But like I said, I do think the Bengals eventually win. Hopefully,
once again we're unanimous there. I also went the Bengals for a lot of the reason that Troy said earlier was like the Bengals O-line has gone up against 2 dogs in the first 2 weeks, and it's not necessarily going to be an easy week per se, but I think it's a chance for them to improve and show that they're legitimate. So I wouldn't freak out necessarily yet about that O-line, and I also think Awuzie has done pretty well this season as well. I've liked what I've seen out of him too, so I also went with Cincinnati there.
Eli Apple, can we have a conversation about him just real quick? Dude got absolutely toasted by Noah Brown against the Cowboys last week. Eli Apple might have been the worst cornerback I've ever seen wear a Bengal jersey for a week. And he's been solid. I think a lot of the hate for Eli Apple has been way overblown.
I was about to say, I know he gets a lot of hate. I know that.
We showed him a lot of love on us whenever we did the division winners. We were like, dude, the Eli Apple hate's a little out of pocket, but by God, that last week was awful from Eli Apple. So I'm expecting a big bounce back from our defense against the Jets as well. I think, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll move on here with the Raiders going up against the Titans. Fred, why don't you get us going?
Dude, what is going on with Las Vegas, man? A ton of hype coming into the year. The AFC West looks a little overrated. I mean, what they allowed Arizona to do last week was just unreal. Hunter Renfrow just in that final drive, just fumbling twice was so strange. But with Tennessee, oh my God, do they look awful.
Yeah.
And going in, I mean, you look at their roster, kind of break it down Madden style. You're like, what do they have outside Derrick Henry? Is Traylon Burks going to be good? Can Ryan Tannehill get it done? Who's on the defense? They're kind of getting old. And I think, and Derrick Henry's off to a really slow start. And
sprinkle in Harold Landry getting hurt.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a really high level pass rusher. I mean, Bud Dupree's Kentucky guy, but man's getting older. But I do think the Raiders win this one. I think they finally get their first win. Got to see more out of Derek Carr. I'm gonna say David, his brother. And just get the ball to Devontae Adams and go. I mean, look what Josh Allen does with Stephon Diggs. Take notes. Look what Aaron Rodgers did last year with Devontae. Just do that. Yeah. But I mean, and the Raiders defense has got to step up. I mean, they got absolutely exposed by little Kyler Murray. So, that's my take on the Raiders. Ugly game because both these teams are very often just ugh, and the Titans are just a little bit more.
So I was about to say, I don't have a lot of faith in either one of these teams, but when it comes down to it, I'm like, which one would I trust a little bit more than the other? And I also went with the Raiders for that reason. I think Derrick Henry's, like you said, he's started off really slow. Didn't look really great the other night. But Troy, I'll pass it to you.
Derrick Henry's so due, though. I mean, he is so due. Like, he's just due for one of his Derrick Henry 35 carries, 240 yards, 3 touchdown games.
They got to have a lead, though.
I know. Exactly.
They can't be playing 30 points behind.
I don't think they get it. I think the Raiders absolutely destroy them in Nashville. I don't think it's very close. I think that Vegas has this game way wrong. I will have some personal money on the Raiders just because I think that the line is just like, dude, the Titans are bad. Like, they are bad. Like, when I watch them play, I'm just like, my God, like, they're offense. Like, what can they do? They have nobody explosive at receiver. Nobody. Robert Woods is good, but he's not explosive. Traylon Burks is solid. He's not explosive. It's like, and then their tight end is Austin Hooper, also not explosive. So it's like, and Derrick Henry, while he may be explosive in a sense, he's not overly quick. He's not going to like beat you. So I don't know. Derrick Henry can't take you to the mountaintop. So I'm going Raiders big. I think they get the job done.
Blowout of the week.
They're so young on the receiving, like on the corner, on the defensive side of the ball as well. Like their secondary is dismantled. I think that Devontae Adams is going to feast. Like you saw what Stephon Diggs just did to this. Devontae Adams may be a step above Stephon Diggs in terms of a receiver. So it's like, let's sit back and enjoy the Devontae Adams show this week. I'm hammering the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to this is a get right game for them, and I think they get right.
This is what happens when you trade your wide receiver one, by the way. Just a heads up for you there.
And you don't get anything
in return.
No, in return.
Nothing.
4 games, 4 unanimous decisions. I think it's safe to say we're all trying to play it safe after a pretty bad last week.
I think it's going to get.
These are pretty obvious picks though so far. You know.
Yeah. We'll move on here to the New Orleans Saints going up against the Carolina Panthers. Troy, why don't you take us?
Yeah, so I really like the Saints in this spot. I just think that the Panthers, they have a lot to prove. Their wide receiving core outside of DJ Moore is interesting at best, and I feel bad for Baker. Just some pretty interesting spots. They got CMC the ball a touch more, which is always encouraging. CMC is one of the most dynamic players in the NFL. But their defense has left a little bit to desire for me as well. I don't think that they'll be able to move the ball efficiently against a Saint defense, a Saint interior. They're really, really good at defensive scheming. They absolutely were dominating the game against the Buccaneers in terms of their defense until that fight broke loose. And then the Buccaneers were like, oh, okay. And Jameis Winston started throwing the ball to the other team. So I just think that the Saints get the job done here. I hate picking against home teams as much as I'm going to this week, as many away teams as we've already picked. But I'm going to rock with the Saints.
Fred.
This is my win upset of the week, baby. I'm betting on Baker, man. CMC's got to get the football. I think Robbie Anderson's looked really good through the first couple games. I know DJ Moore does need to get the ball more. 12 targets, 6 catches. Like to see that go up. Robbie Anderson's your deep threat. Xavier Woods looks great on defense. And, of course, Brian Burns is an absolute hoss coming off the edge. So I do like Carolina. I think they've just kind of let the game slip away the first couple games. So I do think they have promise, led by Pastor Steve. So they'll get it done. And I do like Baker. I have a soft spot for him. And Jameis, I don't know, man. I want him to be good because I like Jameis too, but he's got to learn how to take care of the football, and they have to develop a running game out there. I know Alvin's been beat up, but I mean, Taysom Hill is your leading rusher. Come on.
Yeah.
But it's really good to see Mike Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave, even Juwan Johnson. I mean, they're really spreading the football out, so it's nice.
The Saints were using Olave a whole lot last week.
These rookie receivers are looking good, man.
He had a huge catch. I don't know how they called it a fumble. I don't think the ground should be able to cause a fumble at all. He made a huge catch and lost his footing on a 60-yard bomb. And he rammed into the ground all by himself and the ball popped free. And of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers scooped it up and it was ruled a fumble. I was like, I didn't think the ground could be the cause, but I guess he wasn't touched down or whatever the case may be. But a big play that really changed the trajectory of the game for the Saints. But Chris Olave is nasty.
He looks great. He looks great.
I mean, if you were, a fantasy football owner, I mean, I hope you drafted all these rookies. I mean, I would. Oh, I did.
I actually agree with Fred here. I went with the Panthers. I just think I guess Winston just left a sour taste in my mouth at the end of that game last week.
Awesome.
So nonetheless, we'll move on here. Ravens versus Patriots. Fred, before you spit out all your coffee, let's go to you.
You said the Ravens and the Patriots?
Yeah.
God, the Patriots offense looked really bad. Mac Jones, Mac Jones kind of reminds me of Eli Manning. He'll get the job done, but he's not going to blow your socks off like the other guy the guy on the other side of the ball. Lamar. Resume. So Lamar looked great, man. He had that big long scamper. Sean Bateman looks really good. Kid out of Minnesota. That kid's tough. Who can run a route or three. You know what I mean? But yeah, Jacoby Myers looked really good on the Patriots side. They have the 1-2 punch with Ramondre and Damian, Kentucky kid. So I do have the Ravens winning this one. I mean, I can't believe they let that Miami game slip. Every single team in the AFC North lost last week, so it was kind of a feel good moment for us fans. But yeah, I like Lamar. He's looking absolutely dialed in on the passing game. You got Mark Andrews out there, and I think Rashard Bateman can be their wide receiver one and do just fine.
Yeah, I just don't think the Patriots are very good. I really like the Ravens here. I think the Ravens are just a really, really good football team, to be completely honest. I think their offense is a lot of fun, even without their RB1 and J.K. Dobbins. And I think once they get J.K. back, if he's healthy, oh, God, this offense is scary. That's what I was talking. I was watching these games on Sunday, and I looked over to Kaylee, and I was like, my goodness, this Ravens team can just hit you in so many different ways. That Isaiah Likely, the rookie tight end, he's even starting to come into his own. And then you got Mark Andrews, and then you have their just fast receivers and Rashad Bateman. And it's just – and Devin Duvernay and just weirdos that are just extremely, extremely fast that take the top off this defense and just open up all sorts of holes for Lamar even to scramble. So I really love Lamar, and I think the Ravens walk in to Foxborough and get a big, big dub.
Yeah, dude, Marcus Williams looks really good too. Sorry to take off, Caleb. But I mean, 3 picks, 3 pass defense, and leads the team in tackles. So he's doing his thing.
Oh, yeah.
I also went Ravens. I think they know that last week got away from them and they're going to come out and prove a point. And I just don't like the Patriots that much. I'm not confident in the middle. So unanimous there with the Ravens.
Patriots, just like the Steelers offense, just real stagnant. But I mean, their defense is good. Matthew Judon's an absolute freak. So,
but we'll move on here to the Detroit Lions versus the Minnesota Vikings. Fred, why don't you start us off here?
Dude, such a soft spot for the Detroit Lions. Again, just they had the training camp, HBO Max series. You fell in love with a couple of those guys, and dude, they are good. Amon-Ra St. Brown, stud. How did he slip in fantasy drafts? I don't know. DeAndre Swift, stud. Defense, decent. Jared Goff, you know what I mean? But dude, Aiden Hutchinson, 3 sacks last week. Dude's looking.
He looks great.
Real deal.
He looks great.
And then just a team you can root for. I won't, because I hate all other teams in the league, so unless you're wearing that black and gold. But the Lions, they're going to surprise some people this year. They're led by a really good coach, Dan Campbell. But I do think they drop this one. I think Minnesota bounces back after their prime time. Kind of an embarrassment. Kirk Cousins did not look good at all. Dalvin Cook looked slow. Jefferson was getting absolutely freaking put in a box by Darius Slay. So I think they have a bounce back game. Got to see more out of that defense. Daniil Hunter looked good, but outside of that, man, you got to have somebody step up.
Yeah, it's Minnesota. I'm also going with the Vikings before I dive into too much. But the Vikings need to get Dalvin Cook the ball a little bit more. Like they refuse to run the ball anymore. Kirk Cousins almost threw 50 passes on Monday Night Football. And it's like, Kirk is what he is. He's a good quarterback. But I mean, you got a horse in your backfield that can absolutely, open things up a little bit for Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. And even Irv Smith, who's looked solid. So it's like, let's run the ball a little bit more. 6 carries is not going to get the job done against most good teams. And the Eagles, I know Caleb really likes the Eagles, and he loves his boy Jalen Hurts. But like those are the types of teams for the Vikings. We've all been really, really high on the Vikings this year, especially me and you, Fred. So it's like for them to beat the teams that they need to beat in order to take that next step. Like these are the types of teams that you have to be able to beat. And they got absolutely destroyed on Monday Night Football. But I think this is a big bounce back spot for them. I think Kirk Cousins absolutely slices and dices up this Detroit Lions defense. They haven't been able to stop anybody throwing the football. So I think that Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, and Adam Thielen all in for a big game. And I think they finally give Dalvin Cook about 15 carries. So we'll be able to see the whole plethora of weapons for this Vikings team.
I actually swerved. I think this is my upset of the week. I went Detroit. Fred, I mean, you covered a lot of it. I think that they look really, really good. The Hutchinson on defense looks very, very solid as a rookie. And the Vikings, I mean, they got tore up on defense last week. I mean, granted, it was Jalen Hurts having a field day, but nonetheless, I wanted to swerve here, and I picked my upset of the week with Detroit Lions. So I'll stay with that.
Yeah, Jared Goff looks good, man. I mean, 471, 6 tuts, and 1 hoopie. But I mean, if he can play solid, I mean, they could be a fringe wildcard team for sure.
Yep. We'll move on here to the Philadelphia Eagles up against the Commanders. I'll start off with this one. I mean, Troy, you just said it, how high I am on the Eagles, how high I am on Jalen Hurts. I'm not going to pick against them. I picked them last week. I was the only one to pick them last week, and I'm glad I did. Yeah, Jalen Hurts looked fantastic last week. And I'm not going to pick against him until he proves me wrong. So I'm going Philadelphia. Troy, what about you?
I'm actually going to zig when you zag, my friend. I'm going with the Commanders. This is Fred's sleeper team of the year right here. I just think that they're going to be able to get the job done. I don't really have too much logic behind this. They're going to be at home. I think that that's a big advantage on the road. Jalen Hurts coming off a big emotional win where, they just, beat down on against the team on Monday Night Football. A lot of hype goes into those games on prime time. You're preparing all week, to get excited. Then you're probably going to celebrate if you're Jalen Hurts after a big Monday Night Football prime time. Everybody's watching you play. You absolutely ball. But they didn't score in the second half, which I thought was really, really interesting. No team scored in the second half. But their defense did look really, really solid. But I just think that Carson Wentz is going to do just enough to get the job done. I think they're going to incorporate J.D. McKissick and Antonio Gibson really, really well this week. And I just think that those weapons are going to be good enough for the Commanders to sneak in and win at home against the Eagles here.
Yeah, I'm a huge Carson Wentz believer. He's got to cut down on the oops, my bads. But, 7 touchdowns, 650. He's second in the league in pass yards right now. He has thrown it a lot.
Which is nuts. Him and Tua 1 and 2.
That is crazy. So I'd like to see Antonio Gibson, get some more love out of the backfield. I think he's an absolute stud. Got to get Terry McLaurin the football. Absolutely. And Curtis Samuel looks really good through 2 games. But I'm going to go Philly here because, man, that team is fun to watch, and they are electric. And they're relying on 2 vets in this league, and Fletcher Cox and Darius Slay, looking like they're 24 and 25 again, man. So, and AJ Brown looks like
he looked fantastic.
mean, with him and even, get Devontae Smith going, that seems crazy. Miles Sanders has been decent, man. I mean, a guy they just kind of just not a workhorse back, but he'll get you some yards. I mean, and Jalen Hurts, man.
Yeah.
He looks so composed this year. His throwing looks a lot better. He can run it. And dude fights, man. I mean, there was a couple times he stopped at the 5 and he just puts that ball over the line.
Yeah, he's not overrunning either. Like last year, he would overrun, like to the point where like he would put himself in some tough spots, and then whenever he went to throw, he would look so uncomfortable because he's like, I want to run. So like this year, he's just choosing his spots so good. Like he is literally being so selective, and it's been beautiful to watch. He's done a really really good job, and I'm excited for the Eagles fan base and Eagles team because, like you said, I mean that offense is sneaky good. Like with Miles Sanders. Even Boston Scott, he checks into the game and just is like explosive shot out of the cannon. Yeah, and then you got Kenneth Gainwell. Like they can hit you so many different ways. Dallas Goedert at tight end is so good. So it's just this team is just really really fun to watch whenever they open up that playbook. And it seems like Coach Sirianni here, he's got them rolling and seems to have that offense figured out. So
go ahead, Kev.
It's like I said last week. I think week 1, Jalen Hurts relied on running more than he wanted to. And I think this last week you saw him, get a little bit more comfortable throwing the ball, and then when needed, running and get, how many did he have? 1 or 2 rushing touchdowns?
I think he only had 1.
He has 2. He has 3 on the year.
So I think he had 2 against the Vikings.
Okay.
Or was it?
I mean, his touchdown totals are it's kind of weird because he only has 1 passing touchdown and 3 rushing, but.
He doesn't throw touchdowns. He does not.
But his pocket presence, like Troy was alluding to, like it's so much. You can tell he put in a ton of work in the offseason because I mean, at Alabama, he showed a little bit of passing. Went to Oklahoma
last week.
He worked on some things. He got him to a second. He worked his way up to a second round pick because he became more of a thrower at OU, and then now he's really learning how to stay in the pocket, not just going through your first progression, not there just scrambling. Now it's first progression, second progression, third progression. Okay, now I go.
Right. That's exactly. I think you saw it this past week where he was making the right decision, and then like when it came time to run the ball, he ran it at the right time and was able to, he 2 touchdowns. He was very efficient with it. So I think he's going to get more and more comfortable throwing the ball. And once he gets more and more comfortable throwing, he's going to be such a threat because then you're going to have to respect the throw, and then he's just going to be able to run. So I like it. I think he's just going to keep rolling from here. Any more thoughts before we move on?
We can talk days about the Eagles. Their defense is elite too. They clamped up.
They're a fun team. Yeah, they're a fun team.
Yeah, we'll move on here. The Kansas City Chiefs going up against the Indianapolis Colts. Troy, why don't you get us going here?
Yeah, so this is my game of the week. I think that this, for multiple reasons. You look at the Colts, you're like, dude, they're 0-1-1. Why in the world would this be your game of the week? This is such a big week for them. Like, this is a huge spot for them at home. They're bringing in the super loaded and fun and hot Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes looks great. The Colts defense has not been able to stop an elite quarterback, or not even a quarterback this year. They haven't faced an elite quarterback, is what I meant to say, but they haven't been able to stop Davis Mills or Trevor Lawrence. They've looked really, really good against the Colt defense. So this is a huge spot for them. They are rumored to be getting Shaquille Leonard back, formerly known as Darius Leonard. So they are getting back their all-pro linebacker. For this game. I think that this is a huge game. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to absolutely go off this week. I actually have the Colts winning. I don't necessarily have – this isn't my upset of the week, but I do have the Colts getting the job done here at home. Again, it's just a huge game. Like for them, dropping to 0-2-1 whenever the Jags are really, really surging, it would be tough. It would be tough, and it would be a hard spot for their fans. So I think that the fans are going to provide a really, really good boost for the Colts here. I think it's a huge spot. I think Matt Ryan's going to be good enough. They should get back Michael Pittman Jr. for this game. Their offense should look a whole lot better than it did last week. And I think coming off of their clunker, I think that they come back, have a nice win, and then people start, respecting the Colts a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah, getting Leonard back is huge for them because, that defense has a ton of, just big-time names. Stephon Gilmore, Bobby Okereke. Like, they have got – Woody Pays look good. But you look at their defense, and it's like you have these big-time names, but nobody's making plays right now. Yeah. Matt Ryan needs to stop giving the ball away. give the ball to Jonathan Taylor, let him work. But again, you're going against Kansas City Chiefs, who excel. You got Chris Jones on the line. I mean, you have, their defense stepping up when their offense is their big, moneymaker.
Yeah.
But Patrick Mahomes looks awesome through 2 games. Travis Kelsey. Would love to see Juju finally, get some catches and learn how to play a little football going forward. But I'm going to go the Chiefs here.
Yeah, I also went the Chiefs. I like the Eagles. I'm not going to pick against them until they prove me wrong. But we'll move on. Texans versus Bears. I'm not excited for this matchup. That's just me personally. Troy, what do you think and how you feel?
I think the Texans are going to get the job done here. I just don't think the Bears are very, very good. I do, though, want to say David Montgomery looked extremely, extremely comfortable against the Packers. But, the Bears are what they are. I don't think Justin Fields is very, very good. I think the Texans are so well coached strategically wise that they're going to do just enough. I think, like you said, it's not going to be a pretty game from any stretch. But I think that Davis Dougie Mills is able to get the job done here. And the Texans walk away with a win.
Yeah, I also agree. I think the Texans win this one. Justin Fields just is not a good quarterback. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news to Chicago fans. They don't have a receiving core, so that doesn't help either. I like Davis Mills. I think he's a good, good quarterback, solid quarterback out there in Houston. Their defenses look decent and Levis Smith's a defensive guy, so I figured they would. Would love to see them get a running game established and win this game, and I think they do it by a large margin.
I originally had the Texans as well, but I'll swerve. Give me the Bears. I'm hoping David Montgomery has a big week, but swerving just for the fun of swerving. But that's all of the games at the 1:00 slot. We'll move on to the 4:00 slot on Sunday. We'll start off with the Chargers going up against the Jags. Fred, why don't you take us away?
Yeah, man, Jags, dude, surprises some people, man. Trevor Lawrence looking good. Christian Kirk looks really good through really 2 games. Yeah. Josh Allen, of course, I got to show love to my Josh Allen. A couple forced fumbles, a couple sacks. I mean, dude's elite off the edge. Walker looks like he's the first pick in the draft. But they don't. Has anybody have an update on Herbert? He's playing or not?
He's day to day. That's all they keep saying.
The Jags here, man. I think Justin Herbert being beat up, and that's a rib cartilage injury. I mean, that's going to really pull on him when he's trying to, come across his throwing shoulder. So, like to see Austin Eckler get going, and 75 yards and 28 carries isn't really jumping out at me. So we'll see what they can do. But I'm a good Jags. A lot of fun team to watch, man. That division's up for the taking. So we'll see if they can do it.
Yeah, this was actually my upset of the week. I have the Jags beating the Chargers. Trevor Lawrence looked really, really calm and smooth against the Colts. Again, the Colts secondary has gotten, beat up at times and this so far this year. But I just love this team this year. I love Travis Etienne Jr. I love James Robinson resurgence off his Achilles injury. I love James Robinson. He's a great, great runner. And then, of course, Christian Kirk's looked amazing. Evan Ingram in spots has been really, really solid for them as well. Their O-line's done a really, really good job. And then, of course, that defense, man, I think that's been the surprise around this entire team. And I think Josh Allen is going to get after Justin Herbert. And even if he is healthy, I think one hit from those guys running in, that's going to be a wake-up call for a guy like Herbert. Doesn't take a lot of hits. Normally, he's a big thrower. He's always really wide. He's really tall. So taking a nice blindside hit from a Josh Allen or, one of those boys is going to be really, really tough. And I just think the Jags, man, they're fiery, they're feisty. I love them coming into the year, and I love them now. So give me all the Jags.
I thought I was gonna, catch some eyes. I also went to Jags here. I think they're really hot. They're really hot right now, and I like it. Why not? So I also went to Jags. I think if I knew for certain Herbert was gonna play, I probably would have
healthy. Yeah,
right. I definitely would have gone Chargers, but I can't. I don't want to take that risk and pick the Chargers and Herbert not be there. So I also went Jags.
Especially with a rib injury too. That's got to really affect his throwing.
Yeah, it's a tough injury.
Yeah. We'll move on. Rams versus Cardinals. Fred, take us away.
Dude, the Cardinals, I know they got that big win over Vegas, but I don't have a lot of faith in Kyler Murray. They don't have a running game. I like Darrell Henderson. I think he's gross for the Rams. Cooper Kupp continues to just shine. Allen Robinson going to get some love. I'm going to go with Matt Stafford and the boys. Liam Cohen, shout out to you. Their defense is getting better too. Cardinals, step up.
So you had the Rams, right?
I did have the Rams.
I also went with the Rams. I think that the Cardinals, man, I'm a little shocked by the way you're talking about Kyler. I mean, Kyler literally manned that comeback, did an unbelievable job manning the pocket, running, scrambling, making something out of nothing, doing a great job. Whenever D-Hop gets back, if the Cardinals can just stay close to 500, maybe even a game above in these first 6 games, whenever they get D-Hop back, man, they're going to be a good team to watch. And really, I like their team. I really wanted to pick the Cardinals here. I'm kind of talking myself into it, but I can't do it. The Rams are I wanted to last week and I was just like, no way. And then they pull off the unbelievable and come back, another huge comeback. I just think that they're so outmanned against the Rams, and Kyler, he's been poor against the Rams, his entirety of his career. I just think that Sean McVay, great schemer on both sides of the ball. I just think that, they just have too much talent on LA side.
I agree. Rams, not much more I can add. We're all unanimous here with the Rams. Packers versus the Bucks. Does Tom Brady look like the most miserable man on the planet right now? Or
he looks sick.
Is that just me? He needs to eat a cheeseburger, that's for sure. But Troy, why don't you take us away?
So yeah, this was really close to being my game of the week. Anytime you get a quarterback matchup like Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady, I think you need to pay attention and enjoy it because A, their careers are winding down, and B, this is just greatness all over the field. But both guys kind of dealing with their own situations in terms of their targets and their wide receivers. Brashad Perriman, who has stepped up and done really, really well for the Buccaneers. He was limited in practice today. Julio Jones, is he going to be okay? Mike Evans, obviously suspended. Chris Godwin has his injury concerns. And then you look on the other side and they're just young. And when they're not young, they're Sammy Watkins and Randall Cobb old. So it's like they have no real, other than Alan Lazard, of course. So it's just a really interesting game with two ultra elite quarterbacks. I am going to go with the Buccaneers just because that defense is so feisty. They're disgusting. They are awesome. They're incredible. And I think they're really, really going to frustrate Aaron Rodgers. And there's one thing that's been really, really evident over the last few seasons. Aaron Rodgers can get really frustrated. And when things don't go right quickly, he tends to really, really break down mentally. And then whenever he breaks down, he takes it out on everybody else around him. And that can be a real, real problem, especially against a team like the Buccaneers coming off that dominant fourth quarter. A lot of emotions. They beat up on the Saints late. Just a lot of emotions coming into this game. Tom Brady wants to prove he's still the guy. He can still compete even without his top tier targets. I just think that they're just good enough. They're bringing in Cole Beasley. They still have a really, really good receiving core, even dealing with all these injuries. So I'm going with the Bucs.
I'm actually going to go Pack go here. Preston Smith coming off the edge, just their defense, I think, even though how good the Buccaneers defense have been, they're so suffocating. Shouts out Mike Edwards. But I'm just going to go with Aaron Rodgers and the boys here, man. I think Tom Brady, just head's not in it. He looks sad, sick, depressed, whatever you want to call it. I don't think his head's in it. And I think Aaron Rodgers and the boys get it done. And without Mike Evans, it's tough. I mean, your wide receiver 1's out, your wide receiver 2's out. So I do think
maybe even your wide receiver 3.
Right. So I do have faith in the Packers.
I also went Packers. Tom Brady missing all those wide receivers, I think it's going to be big time. I mean, he already looks frustrated as it is. I mean, Troy, you pointed out Aaron Rodgers gets frustrated. Tom Brady looks pissed off every other possession. Yeah. And so I think it's going to be a struggle without his best wide receivers. And I just think that the Packers will be able to slide it. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be a fun game. But like you said, I wanted to put this as my game of the week as well, but I think it's going to be a fun game, but I do think Aaron Rodgers and the Packers slide out. We'll go on to the Falcons versus Seahawks.
Game of the week, baby.
Yeah. Who wants this one? Go ahead.
I think Marcus Mariota's looked good. I think he's looked solid. Got to get Kyle Pitts involved. Cordell Patterson's awesome. Drake London, another rookie receiver, just looking good. Both really bad defenses, though. I mean, these two defenses, nothing. But I am going to take Atlanta here, and I think we have a resurgent game from Kyle Pitts and Marcus Mariota. So, and Geno Smith looked good week 1, but I don't think it carries on throughout the season.
Yeah, I too am going with the Falcons. I just think the Seahawks are so bad. Like their team's just really, really bad. Now, granted, they have Tyler Lockett and they have DK, who are always going to make things a little bit easier for a quarterback. So that's always fun to watch. But I just think the Falcons are just better. They're just a tad better, and that's all I can really say, because there's really not much that can go into these two teams. Like it is really, really who can F up a rebuild quicker. Whoever wins this, it's like you're one step back on your opponent for a potential top 5 pick. So just one of those things.
Yeah, I also went Falcons. I think I just trust Mariota a little bit more than Geno Smith. And I'm hoping Pitts can actually get involved this week and get some catches and get some things going for him. But yeah, all unanimous there. We'll all go with Atlanta. We'll move on here. The Trey Lance-less 49ers going up against the Denver Broncos. Fred, go ahead.
I'm gonna go Broncos here. I do think Jimmy G's a great option. I mean, he's been to a Super Bowl. He's won playoff games. Like he is decent, but I don't think he is going to get past his Bronco team. I know the Broncos haven't looked crazy good. I mean, they have the guys to do it. I just hope they can put it together. Russell Wilson needs to get some things together. The defense is pretty good. Bradley Chubb got some names out there, but I'm going to go Denver. I just don't see a lot from 49ers right now. Deebo Samuel's been kind of, where's he at? He's supposed to be this top 5 receiver. Haven't seen it. And I think I don't know how well that team's going to mesh. But we'll see. But I am going to go Denver. Not a 49ers fan though, at all. Don't like their trajectory at all.
Yeah, I love the Broncos here, but I think that Jimmy G is a much better quarterback than Trey Lance. So I think that the 49er fans are going to be excited to see Jimmy G out there. It seems like the guys love Jimmy G too. They rallied behind him. So yeah, I'm just going to go with the Broncos. I think they're due for a bounce back. I think this might be a big bounce back week for a lot of teams. The Colts, the Bengals, and of course now I'm rocking with the Broncos.
I really wanted to go 49ers. I really wanted to, but I couldn't talk myself into it. I mean, last week Broncos able to pull out a victory. Nothing like really stood out. Courtland Sutton had 122 yards on 7 receptions. Russell Wilson went 14 for 31, 219 yards, 1-1. Nothing stood out, but I'm not loving what I've seen out of San Francisco so far. And I just think that the Broncos have those tools to be able to get the job done against 49ers here. So unanimous there, all going Denver. Our last game on Sunday, or this is Monday night actually, right?
Yep.
Yeah, sorry. Our Monday night football game, the Dallas Cowboys going up against the New York Giants. Troy, why don't you get us going?
New York football, baby. 2-0, looking good, feeling good. I have the Giants here. I just think that, they are what they are. I think that the Giants offensive line's been really, really solid. Andrew Thomas has looked great. Evan Neal on the other side. Like they've really, really done a really good job formulating this young up and coming offensive line. And Brian Dable's done a great job scheming for Daniel Jones. I think let's not let that go under the radar, undetected. Like he's done a great job with Daniel Jones for what Daniel Jones has. Like this is the best Daniel Jones has looked in his entire career, thanks to Brian Dable. So Saquon Barkley, elite. The Cowboys just have a lot of questions for me on their offensive side of the ball. Like, are they going to be if Michael Gallup's healthy, can Cooper Rush incorporate him and get him an ample amount of targets to see how he's feeling? Can he also incorporate CeeDee Lamb like he did last week? Again, are they going to give Tony Pollard or Zeke going? How is that going to look? I just don't think that their offense is good enough. I think their O-line is kind of not very good. And I think this Giants team is just playing really inspired. I think that the New York, the crowd is going to be buzzing. Monday Night Football, big rivalry. Why not? Why not ride with the Giants? 3-0, baby.
Yeah, I'm going to go Dallas here just because that defense is so suffocating for me. I think, the things Michael Parsons does is just insane. And I do like the Giants. I like their roster, but I think Daniel Jones needs to get the ball to his playmakers outside of Barkley. Tony has got to get involved. Wandell's coming back this year, get him the football. You have a good receiving core, get them the ball. Kenny Galladay, you spent all this money on, like to see him do something. But I'm going to go Cowboys here. I think Cooper Rush can do just enough to squeak by in the Monday Night Football game.
Yeah, I actually also went. So it's funny because if you look at my notes, I've got the Giants, and I scratched it out. And I wrote Cowboys, and I scratched it out. Like I couldn't make up my mind. But ultimately, I'm going to go with Dallas here. I think maybe it's because I saw so much of it last week, but Micah Parsons and that defense, I'm thinking will just be able to get the job done. Like you said, I think Cooper Rush will be able to do just enough on the offensive end to lead Dallas to the Monday night victory there. But that is week 3. I'm excited for the most part.
Good week of games.
Yeah.
We agreed on a lot.
Huh?
I said we agreed on a lot of games.
We got to play it safe. I told you after last week, nobody really stood out. We got to play
you
it
didn't
safe.
go 5-11, dude. I didn't make playoffs.
But so the last phase here in the NFL show is where we go into the fantasy football sleeper showdown. And the results for last week, Fred picked Shee Smith from the Carolina Panthers. He got a ton of targets, just struggled to do anything with him. He accrued 1.2 points. And Kyle Phillips, he had 1.5 points going into the fourth quarter and then fumbled a punt and lost 2 points. So he lost me the week. He ends up with negative 0.5 points. So not the showing from either of our guys that we were.
It's small victories, Fred. It's all right. Small victories. Baby.
Fred gets in the
win column.
Yeah, Fred gets in the win column for the first time this year on the Fantasy Sleeper Showdown. So our records are 1-1. Week 3, Fred, who you rocking?
I'm going to go with a kid from North Carolina. He's a receiver. He plays for the Las Vegas Raiders. I got Mac Hollins. He is owned by 0.3% of the world via ESPN. He had 8 targets last week, 5 catches, 66 yards. I think he builds on that. He's the wide receiver 3 out there. I think going against a young secondary in Tennessee, I think he gets some more targets, maybe even gets a touchdown. Shout out to you, Mac Hollins. Do your thing. Had a South Carolina kid last week. Going with a North Carolina kid this week.
And I'm gonna go with the Cardinal kid, Greg Dortch. He's 4.3% owned. He's been a solid wide receiver for him. He's secured 13 targets, has 11 receptions on the year. He's done well. He's found the end zone once so far this year. So he seems to be incorporated into their offense. He's a little explosive with James Conner potentially missing some time, along with obviously D-Hop's not in the lineup, and Hollywood Brown hasn't been what we thought he was going to be with Kyler. So give me Greg Dortch, and I think they're going to be behind, so I think they're going to have to throw the football a little bit more against the Rams. And I think he may find the end zone. He may dink and dunk his way into winning me a fantasy sleeper showdown, baby.
How many people have him?
4.3%. Yeah, he has gained 4.2% since last week. So a lot of people picking up the Greg Dortch.
I think he's their leading receiver right now.
He might be. 118 yards on the year. Sneaky.
Fred, why don't you get us out of here?
Hey, listen, man. Super excited for week 3 of NFL. Stay with us. Super excited for it. Wish your boy luck on Friday. Going under the knife. So I'll be on the IR for a minute, but I'll be back. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to yet another great podcast. Go Steelers, Steel City stand up. And boys, if that's it, don't be a star. Why would you be a superstar? Be an X factor. Change the flipping game. We'll see you guys next week. We love you guys. God bless. And peace out.